Now, to take a look ahead to Chung Eui-yong's trip to Pyongyang, we have with us Dr. Bong Young-shik from the Yonsei Institute for North Korean Studies. It's great to have you back on the show.
Pleased to be here.
Now, as was explained in that report, there seems to be two main agendas that will be tackled by Chung Eui-yong during his trip to Pyongyang. The first is to set the date and details for the Inter-Korean summit that the two leaders have agreed to do in some time this month. The second, to narrow the differences between North Korea and the U.S. on the agenda of denuclearization of the North Korean regime. Let's stick with the first agenda for now, about the Inter-Korean summit. There's been a lot of speculation about, when the exact date will be. There's one report that came out today that says it'll be between the 18th and 20th. It'll be 3 days, 2 nights. Does that sound about right to you?
Well, first of all, I'd like to express my sympathy to you, all the reporters and media people struggling to grasp the actual dates and the length of the summit meeting. And you do not even know whether it's going to happen in the first place. So my sympathy expressed first.
Well, thank you.
And we are dealing with a very tight schedule because September 9th is a National Foundation Day of North Korea. So the summit meeting should be after their celebration in North Korea. But we also have the United Nations General Assembly meeting starting on the 18th. And our biggest national holiday, Chuseok holidays, will begin on the 24th. For the third summit meeting between President Moon Jae-in of South Korea and the Chairman Kim Jong-un of North Korea to be actually meaningful and productive, there should be, as you correctly pointed out in your opening remark, there should be the new momentum to narrow the gap between North Korea's demand for the official declaration of the end of the Korean War on one hand, and the United States being satisfied with North Korea taking another meaningful steps toward denuclearization. Otherwise, then not much is expected to be achieved, even if there will be a summit meeting between South Korean president and North Korean leader. So these two issues are intertwined. I don't think it is a good idea for Moon Jae-in government to be too preoccupied with first having the summit meeting, and two, having the specific date. Because what was actually agreed in the Panmunjom Declaration on April 27th is that there will be another summit meeting to take place in Pyongyang in the fall of 2018. Fall of 2018 is not just a month of September, but it could be October and November. So if there is no good prospect that the fissure between Pyongyang and Washington will be somehow bridged by the initiative by Moon Jae-in government, then it might be a good strategic idea and decision for the Moon Jae-in government to actually reschedule the summit meeting sometime in October after the United Nations General Assembly session will be over, prior to the election on November 8th in the United States. Then U.S., South Korea, and North Korea, and even China could afford sufficient amount of time to cool down and come up with more pragmatic solutions that might be more satisfactory to all related parties.
But the fact that Chung Eui-yong is going, and the fact that North Korea accepted South Korea's offers to send him, doesn't that at least suggest that they have plans to hold the summit soon? Otherwise, they wouldn't have invited him. And if they do delay the summit, as you suggested that they might do, doesn't that send a very negative and perhaps a dangerous message to all the parties involved that North Korea are holding back?
Well, I mean, North Koreans, if the special envoy fails to come up with the specific date for the summit meeting, Inter-Korean summit meeting, then North Koreans will respond with anger and frustration and call it a failure. But from the standpoint of the United States, it is a positive development because it will confirm that South Korea can be trusted as a security partner of the United States and a trustworthy supporter for maintaining maximum pressure on North Korea until North Korea will complete the final and fully verified denuclearization. So cancellation of the scheduled summit meeting between Kim and Moon may be a disappointing news to North Koreans, but it could be a positive sign that may help restore the credibility of South Korea from the standpoint of the Trump administration. So it depends upon which perspective you are going to apply to assess the failure of success of the mission of the special envoy led by Mr. Chung Eui-yong this time.
You earlier expressed sympathies for myself and our reporters about, clutching at straws perhaps about every little detail that is happening with North Korea. Perhaps this meeting with Chung Eui-yong, we are overblowing it a little. I mean, narrowing the differences between the U.S. and is a key challenge that South Korea is looking to do. But what can Chung Eui-yong, this envoy, can he do during this trip to help the situation between the North Korea and the U.S.? Doesn't really President Moon have to really get involved to push the agenda forward more? Well,
citing one line in Shakespeare's Hamlet, more matters, less art this time. Dr. Cho of the Kino, Korean Institute for National Unification, put it very succinctly that both sides, North Korea and South Korea, have had enough huggings and gestures of good spirit. Now it's time to have more straight talks to deal with the very difficult agendas lying ahead, because without progress in North Korea's denuclearization, we cannot expect further progress of the inter-Korean cooperation. The Twitter message issued by the Chief of Staff in the President's office, Mr. Im Jong-seok, indicates this very clearly, that without recognition of the very cold reality of the world of diplomacy, and without having the United States strategic patience and consent on board, we cannot expect to make any further progress between the two Koreas. So basically, that's a very stern warning sent to Kim Jong-un regime of North Korea by the Moon Jae-in government of South Korea. Listen, we have been doing our best as a bridge between Washington and Pyongyang, and in order to bridge the inter-Korean progress and progress on the front of denuclearization and building sustainable peace regime on the Korean Peninsula. But this time, it is North Korea's turn to make bold strategic decisions and make concrete and discernible progress with regards to denuclearization, such as the submission of list of nuclear materials and weapons and missiles, and North Korea has produced and maintained. Then we can rekindle our discussion on persuading the United States to agree on the official declaration of the end of the Korean War. It's not time to say that which position is right or wrong. The reality is already set. It is time for North Korean leadership to make the strategic decision to flatly deal with the reality on the ground. That is, United States will not move until North Korea is going to take additional meaningful steps toward complete denuclearization. And South Korea's influence upon the United States to change its mind is limited.
So on one hand, South Korea has to reach out to North Korea and make sure that they're still engaging. But on the other hand, they also have to play a role to pressure the North in working in coordination with the U.S. I think that's what you're saying. On that, how much do you think the South Korean government and Chung Eui-yong will have coordinated their message with the U.S. as he goes to Pyongyang?
Well, there's not much coordination Mr. Chung Eui-yong or the Moon Jae-in government has to worry about because it all depends upon what Mr. Kim Jong-un is going to do in receiving the special envoy tomorrow. There are basically three possibilities. One, Mr. Kim Jong-un never shows up. Two, Mr. Kim Jong-un shows briefly to receive the special envoy, but basically reiterates the same message. North Korea has done everything it could. Now it's turn for the Trump administrations to return the favor, which is agreeing to declare the official end of the Korean War, basically repeating the same position, which was the reason for the cancellation of Secretary Mike Pompeo's visit to Pyongyang. Third possibility is Kim Jong-un being a very bold, courageous leader, saying that, okay, we still believe that our position is correct, but we truly are committed to the dying injunction of the great leader Kim Il-sung to keep entire Korean Peninsula free of nuclear weapons. So we will make important decision that, including like submitting the list of the nuclear and the missile materials to the United States, in return for the guarantee by the Trump administration that United States will agree to declare the end of the Korean War before the end of this year. Then the special envoy's mission will be accomplished. Then coordination between Seoul and Washington for the next step, possibly the Mike Pompeo's visit to Pyongyang, will be smoothed out.
Chung Eui-yong, he is, if put it one way, just simply the messenger in this negotiations. President Moon won't be there himself, but there is speculation that he might send a letter like he's done in the past. Letter diplomacy seems to be quite important with North Korea, getting like direct one-on-one conversation between the leaders. Do you think Moon Jae-in will send a letter this time? And what message would it send if he doesn't?
Well, it seems like the President's office has already announced that there would be a letter, a personal letter by President Moon Jae-in, but it refused to disclose to the media people about the content. I believe that the content is already alluded in the message on the internet by the Chief of Staff, Mr. Im Jong-seok, that there should be a stern warning by Seoul that it is time for North Korean government to take further steps to maintain the momentum created since the beginning of the year 2018 and the summit meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and the Chairman Kim Jong-un. I believe the core message in the personal letter is that do not miss the opportunity. You have so much to lose if you miss this opportunity. Please remember the momentum created in the unprecedented summit meeting between you and the U.S. President.
One final quick question. There's an X factor here, and that's his name starts with an X, President Xi Jinping. There have been reports that he would be going to Pyongyang for the anniversary of the regime's foundation this weekend, but there are also now reports saying that that trip isn't going to happen. What message does that send?
Well, I believe that President Xi Jinping is happy that he has a less reason to go to the National Foundation celebration in North Korea on September 9th. If he is going, he has to give Pyongyang a big package, present, right? But what kind of present China can offer Pyongyang when China is participating in the maximum pressure economic sanctions? If there will be a sign of a close partnership between Beijing and Pyongyang, President Trump will be happy to point out that, see, I told you so. It is China behind North Korea all along. China cannot risk that danger. And China does not want to jeopardize its bargaining position vis-à-vis the United States in much bigger agenda, which is to conclude the ongoing trade war with the United States. So China does not want to let any matters, including North Korea's denuclearization, to hamper its effort to escape from the very nagging and destructive trade war with the United States, which is the biggest challenge to the Xi Jinping government.
That's where we'll end it. Thank you for coming in today and sharing us your insights as always.
You're welcome.